Hey guys, I am super excited. Today we're going to be talking about something that almost every good business owner has felt, but very few know how to fix. And I think this conversation is totally something we need to have, especially if you're planning on growing your business this year. This might be the one thing that's stopping you from accomplishing this. So if you've ever thought, I'm really good at what I do, so why does it feel like still nobody sees me? I think this conversation is for you. I want to do a quick introduction because we have been doing this highlights of our speakers, which I'm so excited. It just gives you such a great opportunity to see what's happening behind the scenes or what's going to be happening behind the scenes, as we're getting closer and closer to the event. And for those, if in case you haven't heard about the event, Scale with Stability, we really believe businesses in general, the growth that they are going to have in their future shouldn't really cost your family, your faith, your health, or your peace. And one thing that we're really focusing on this year, especially, is we're wanting to build businesses that are building themselves the right way to stewardship, strong systems, leadership, clarity, and definitely not the hustle and burnout. And sometimes the issue is not your talent. And I think that's something that we don't often go to. We tend to think about all the problems that we could have in the business. And it's not your talent. It's not definitely your marketing strategy. It's something that it's quietly sometimes holding you back from showing up consistently and confidently. And that's why I am so excited to have today with me Gabe. We call Gabriel, I know, but Gabe too.
All right, Gabe is fine.
Everybody is going to be in that room. Gabe Vangelatos, author and business strategy, who has spent years studying why great businesses stay invisible even when they're excellent at what they do. So I'm really curious on the session. The name of the session that you're going to host, Gabe, at Scale with Stability, it's called The Hidden Reason Great Business Owners Stay Invisible, the 5-step fix you've never tried. And I'm really curious of what's going to entail, because I feel like a lot of business owners are probably dealing with this problem quietly most of the times, and this is going to be a great opportunity for them to solve it. So before we get started, Gabe, give us a little bit of your background. Where have you been? How do you get into this topic, and how this became part of the focus that you have right now?
Okay, so I began. Wow, I could go back and back and back. I have so many stories to tell about this, and through high school, through college, almost through anything. Like I was the ACM club president in college, but I didn't feel like I was the president because I didn't have my name out there. People knew who I was, but every single time I tried doing something, it was just like, oh, Gabe's doing this, or like they didn't even know who I was. And I don't know why I went to that story, but when my wife and I moved from New York to Texas, we opened up a diner. We opened up a restaurant because I literally, from like the time I was born to now, I was born and raised inside the family business, let's say, right? And we had this great cheesecake, and our cheesecake was the best cheesecake to ever exist. And I still believe that. I took it, I personalized it, I made it my own, and every single time we went up against even juniors, which everyone knows who Junior's cheesecake is, we always won. And I thought I could take that cheesecake and bring it to Texas and make it like, everyone's going to love my cheesecake. It's going to be the bomb. People are going to be coming from everywhere and understand, like, I have it all. And that's when money's going to come in, and I'm going to be so proud, and I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be living on my yacht in my house. No one's going to mess with me because I'm going to have it all. And I cannot tell you what big of a failure it was. I let my ego get in the way of that, and I didn't really realize until I had to sell it for, I would say pennies to the dollar, because I put a lot into it. And from that point on, I had to self-reflect, because I was sitting in a diner that was empty because nobody would come even eat. Even though I did have the best cheesecake and people who were around me said it was the best, I just couldn't get it out there to where I needed it to be, to where people actually saw it for what it is and would come like I envisioned. So I really took a hard self-reflection on myself. I really went into a bunch of masterminds. I really went into a bunch of, I would say, summits, just to learn more about what I was really going through. And it's more internal than I thought it was. It's more like I didn't have the right systems in place I didn't have the right courage. I didn't have the right consistency. I didn't create an environment where people could thrive. I created an environment where people felt limited. And I needed to change that. I needed to change that. So I quickly went into my whole self and said, all right, what are things that I'm lacking? And the biggest thing I realized was it was marketing right. So I didn't have a system because I was too afraid of the systems that were in place. I was too afraid to go out there and actually put myself in a position where people would see me for who I am because I was deathly afraid of something. I was constrained. And I'm not saying that I lacked courage because I did put myself out there. What I'm saying is I didn't have enough of it. I didn't push myself to the point where I think people could actually see me for who I was. They saw me for this, I would say, angry person that didn't get what I needed to get out because I just couldn't bring myself to doing it. And when I started, I was building web pages back in the day, and I thought like, all right, I could get back into marketing because now I could do everything. And I realized that I'm not the only one. And I'm not the only business owner. I'm not the only entrepreneur that suffered through that because every single time I tried to pitch my marketing services, I tried to pitch my webpage. They're like, oh, I just want to stay in the background. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be noticed. And I'm like, well, kind of like, I know how you feel on that. And I quickly realized that this is a constraint that most business owners are actually feeling.
Yeah.
They're afraid of the marketing. It's not that they don't know how to market. It's not that they don't know have a system that works. It's that they're definitely afraid of doing it. And that's when I started building up the 5 marketing constraints.
Well, I would actually love for you to go deeper into that because when I remember the first time that you and I talked about constraints, I was curious of what you meant by that. And I got the book, I read it, and I was like, oh, okay, this actually totally clicks. And I know you're going to go way deeper into what this all means, and you're going to work with people at your session during Scale with Stability. But I'm really curious to see, what do you mean by having a constraint problem? And we'll go deeper into like how you identify that even.
Well, what I mean by constraint is over a couple of, I can't remember exactly when, but I had read the book Theory of Constraints, which to me it's a bottleneck that's holding you back. It's not the lack of, but it's something that you need more of. So when I talk about constraints, me personally, I feel like the courage constraint, which my book is all about, is the one that I lack the most of. And I had to figure out a way to break through that constraint, to actually like tighten that chain so I could thrive in an environment where I needed to be thrived.
Why do you feel, especially after realizing that this was a problem that you have, I feel like once you realize the problem, then you can see it. It's kind of like, oh, you think about a red car, then you see that red car everywhere, right? Of like you're able to like pinpoint it very, very quickly. Why do talented, capable business owners stay invisible longer than they actually should? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, because I will tell you, most of them, like me, this is like hard to say, and this is the truth reality. We had an ego. It's when you're an entrepreneur, you always have that entrepreneurial dilemma, right? That dilemma is that if I know it, why don't you know it? So we always expect our subordinates to know exactly what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and do it. And that's why most of us stay in that lid because we believe, I know it, why don't you do it? So if I were to get somewhere where it's like something happens, I would blame someone else. I couldn't bring that to blame myself because I knew it all. So my whole thing was that I had such an ego that I couldn't see past that ego. That I couldn't see that growth is on the other side of my ego. That growth is on the other side of that courage constraint. And I couldn't see it. And that's why one of the reasons, I wouldn't say it's the main reason, but it's one of the biggest reasons why I was holding myself back from actually scaling my businesses.
As you have identified this in yourself, and maybe anybody that's watching this can also hear, what you're about to respond to this question, because I'm curious if maybe somebody that hasn't identified this for themselves can have this clarity moment right now. But what are some of the common signs that you have seen in somebody that is dealing with a constraint instead of a strategy issue, for example?
I mean, it's very simple. If you actually have a conversation with those that are constrained, and I would say my friend Robert did this to me. That's how I was able to identify myself. It's you're always constantly putting it out to someone else, putting it out there as if it's not my fault, it's not me, I'm not the problem. I'm not saying you are the problem. Well, what I'm saying is that you notice that either you're filled with excuses or there's something internally that's really in you that's keeping you from doing it.
Okay. I know that a lot of the constraints that you're talking about are specifically focused on how do we help business owners have the
Mhm.
visibility that they should be having in their businesses, right?
Yeah.
Once you're overcoming these constraints, then you're able to like really fully go into some of the marketing strategies that we have been
Yeah.
talking as digital marketing agencies for forever. But before we go into that, why do ads and funnels fail when the deeper constraints aren't addressed first? Like, I feel like a lot of the times we think like, oh, we're gonna start running ads, we're gonna start creating this funnel instead of like dealing with the core problems. Why do you think like that happens, and what are some of the stuff that you have seen as you have helped others?
So most of the time, and I'll tell you when we're dealing with ads, when we're dealing with funnels, I feel like that's a measurement constraint issue, mostly a measurement constraint issue. So I did identify 5 constraints. I spend most of my time talking about the courage constraint because that's the biggest one. But measurement constraint is one of the biggest constraints in marketing that people don't understand they need. People just assume that marketing is just putting yourself out there, getting yourself out there, and getting the result. But they don't understand what the process really is, and they don't understand that you have to measure. It's everything measured because I lie to myself all the time. I go on Facebook and I'm posting something and I'm thinking it's going to be great and it's going to get viral and everything's going to like people are going to love it. And once I post it, it's like nobody saw it. What went wrong? And that's when you need measurement. That's when we need to start measuring because I noticed that most companies out there don't have that measurement in place. So they don't want to measure what they need. And if they're not measuring, then they're not weighing anything and you can't figure it out. So they just start blaming the whole ad funnel in itself instead of actually saying maybe it was just a copy. Let's see how many people actually clicked on it to look at it. And they don't. So that mainly, the number one thing with that is measurement.
Okay. You've mentioned so far courage, and you mentioned measure as some of the constraints. You mentioned there's 5
There's
really.
5.
Can you walk me through it? I know that this is going to be way deeper, inside the scale stability session that you have as one of our breakout rooms. I'm curious to hear what these 5 are, and what is the end goal of understanding these constraints.
Well, okay. So the 5 constraints are there's courage that we already spoke about. There's consistency, which I think is pretty obvious. Consistency is key. There's the systems constraint, which I also identify as the founder bottleneck, which means that the founder is involved in every single part of the system. I spoke about it briefly when I said you should know what I know. And there's measurement and there's resources. The measurement I just went over. Resources that you don't invest in much into your marketing as you should. So those
So
5
you're
marketing constraints. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say those 5 marketing constraints combined equal a very powerful marketing transformation, which will get you to where you need to be as long as you overcome each constraint.
Okay. So the goal would be for somebody that's attending the session that they're able to identify the constraints and then work through that to be able to position themselves with the authority that they have. What is your vision? I'm curious, as you're envisioning people coming to the event, um, attending the session, what kind of transformation have you seen when somebody finally is able to remove these constraints from their business?
So I will tell you, I put myself out there. This is like the transformation I've seen isn't because I've seen it, it's because I've lived it. Because I will tell you, I was the most fearful person when it comes to marketing. I was deathly afraid to get on stage. I was deathly afraid to go live. I was deathly afraid of everything. And it all started when that weekend in Connecticut that I mentioned in my book. But when I tell you that the transformation brought me from someone who didn't want to speak in front of crowds because I was too afraid to, like, why would people listen to me, to wanting to get my message out there. Like, I'm really, really super excited about going to Scale Stability because I will tell you, like, if you look at the bottom screen and you see all these faces, every single one of them inspired me to actually get on stage, to actually speak on stage, to actually be someone that could show the value that I have instead of actually holding it back and just looking for validation. And I forgot where I was going at, but I'm so excited about it that it's just like this is me being excited, and I never was that excited person. I was always about, I'm going to make the most money because my cheesecake's the best. Now I'm willing to give that cheesecake recipe to out whoever wants it, because I feel like it's crazy how that transformation happened with me. It's crazy how just like a weekend in Connecticut actually helped me realize that I needed to get out of my own shell. I needed to actually realize that the opposite of courage isn't fear, it's ego. And I needed to go out there and showcase exactly what I am. And now I'm more open to it. I'm more open. I could actually be vulnerable and not be afraid of being vulnerable. I could actually sit there and measure stuff because I don't know it. I'm a human. I make mistakes. So measurement constraint was one of my biggest things. Now that I'm measuring things, I'm actually realizing where my mistakes are, and I'm realizing that I am going to be wrong. So when I tell you that marketing transformation isn't only marketing, it's about understanding who you are and where you could go with like the proper systems in place, with the proper resources. It's just mind blowing, and that's why I'm excited. And I will tell you, this is a faith driven thing. I've never lost my faith in God, but my faith in Jesus has risen since like I actually learned about all my like issues, all my constraints.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Gabe. As one of the things that we were chatting is, helping navigate this. I think like from your own experience, being able to address this internally. I think sometimes like that's how we get this transformation for others, right? Like we start with ourselves first, and once we're able to identify something that took us, years in our lives to be able
Yeah.
to figure out or to solve, and we know how hard this has been, right, in our own journey. I think that's the one of the best ways to impact others, because we know exactly what they have been going through, and it's a lot more, it's a lot easier to be able to help somebody once you have experienced what you have experienced. And that's what I'm getting from you, right? I'm getting from you that you have gone through this process, and that now implementing it or helping others figure this out, address it, understand it, whatever it is, in the session, just like understand where you're at and get that clarity to solve things. It's going to be way, way, way better for them. Now, as we're thinking about the event and everybody that's coming, what is something that they're going to be able to walk away from your session during Scale with Stability?
Well, number one, they're going to learn what the number one primary constraint is that's really holding them back. Most of the time I get the courage constraint, but there's 5 constraints like I mentioned, and we're going to figure that out together. You're going to come out with what the number one constraint is and how to overcome it. And then we'll go into your secondary and I can't pronounce it, but your third constraint, and figure those out too. So the purpose, like the one thing that I do want them to walk away with, and I believe they will walk away with, is understanding where they're really like their marketing is really hold back and breaking through it. Because I really believe that most of the time it's marketing, it's those constraints that are holding you back.
I love that. For somebody that is still undecisive or still pending to get their ticket, for Scale with Stability, what is a word of advice or recommendation that you would give them as they're making the decision of why they need to be in that room?
Well, because not right now, they're actually, if they're deciding, if they're so scared of it, it's that they're not really able to make that decision. And it's just, you have to get into this room. This is the room that will help you make that decision. This is the room that will help motivate you, that will give you more reason, more purpose. And I remember being there last year, and it's just amazing how many people are there that actually want to help you, that actually help you grow, that actually teach you so much. And if I were to say this one, I've been to many summits before. I've been to many places, GrowthCon, Tony Robbins, but I feel at home with Scale Stability. This is the one summit that I had to absolutely be a part of this year. And I am so glad I'm a part of it, because if you really like value your faith, if you really value, then these people are here to help you. These people are the same that I am. So definitely get your ticket to Scale Stability. Don't think about it, just do it. And I promise you that you will love what you see.
Thanks, Gabe. I am so excited to meet with you and everybody. Honestly, this lineup is just incredible. The lineup that we have for this year, we're truly blessed. I think you and I, we've been attending events for a long time, and it's so cool, right? To be able to not only understand that there's a transformation within us as we're attending these events and as we're growing. Because a lot of the times, a lot of people are attending events to get clients, to, you know, position their brands, and that's definitely important. But even so important as well, right? Equally
Yeah.
important is the transformation that can happen by attending events and investing in yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what you pour out into others. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being willing to lead one of the sessions that we're going to have, because I think it's so important for people to be able to address, understand, and realize, even sometimes through others, right? In this case, it's going to be through you being the instructor of this session. How can we understand and have clarity on the constraints that we're going to have, so that then we can solve these and we can move quicker into creating that growth for our business. So I cannot wait for your session. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be really hard for everybody to pick their sessions for Scaled Stability. For those who are planning to get your tickets, make sure that you get your ticket at scaledstability.com/summit. You're going to have the options there. We still have some VIPs left. I haven't gotten the last update on that, but that's going to be incredible. And also, we're going to have we still have availability on the general ticket sessions, which you're going to have access to all of the breakout sessions that you want to pick. You're going to have access to the general tickets. And I cannot wait to see everybody super soon. The clock is ticking. So thank you, Gabe. Again, we're super excited to meet you very soon. And see you guys. Hope you have a great